When I was young, I had it all figured out. When I was a teenager in my 20s, I knew everything. And now approaching 50, I realize I don't know anything. Well, at least I'm aware of what I don't know. A few years ago, I had this kind of collision of multiple things happen at the same time. And it kind of sent me into a tailspin. My mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and dementia, and she became confused and disoriented and got lost in the world a few times. A friend of mine who I worked as a firefighter with for years was diagnosed with a terminal illness. And my relationship and family life fell apart. I didn't know what to do or where to turn. And I was caught up in this world of swirling emotions that I just did not know how to handle. And I grew up in a different era. I grew up in an era where, if you cried, you would, kind of told, I'll give you something to cry about. That old school, tough Brooklyn growing up. Be a man, don't show weakness. And what I really needed to do was figure out a way to understand my emotions, understand what I was feeling, and find healthy ways to express it. But I didn't know that then. And so, I'd quit drinking years earlier because that would just make my problems worse. But I was still using cannabis in a really unhealthy way and numbing and distracting myself with like scrolling and screen addiction and food and just mindset, like feeling bad for myself, this victim mentality, like why me? I felt like it only was happening to me. Although I know now, and retrospectively, that's not true. At the time, it felt like I was going through it alone. Probably because I was uncomfortable or embarrassed or ashamed about feeling what I felt and not knowing how to express it. No one ever modeled or showed me how to understand my feelings or how to express sadness, how to grieve. I was never given permission to express those feelings in a safe way. And so, like so many of us, I just kind of like choked it down and repressed it, or would find ways to just kind of numb myself or distract myself from feeling those feelings. And that can be so toxic. I'm convinced they creates disease in our bodies, manifesting as tumors. Um, Mine manifests itself as anger. It was easy for me to get angry because I could be angry and still maintain my strength. But as the saying goes, anger is sadness's bodyguard. Anger is fear's bodyguard. And so when we're afraid to express sadness and fear, it can manifest itself in unhealthy ways and come out by directing it towards the world or other people, blaming them, blaming the world or other people or life situations for our pain and our struggle. But it's only by facing it that we develop the inner strength and skills necessary to confront some of our demons. And I'm deeply grateful because I look back now and I did have some great support. I had my siblings, I had friends, I had people that genuinely cared about me, that would check on me, that would make sure that I knew that I was loved and cared for, even if I was sad, even if I was angry, even if I was a prick to be around. I still was reminded that I was loved and that I mattered. And it was mostly my guy friends, truthfully, that reminded me that I was loved and cared for. And that really made the difference. And so much of my pain was tied to these feelings that I felt made me less than and made me vulnerable. And it wasn't until I was able to kind of tap into that by making room in my life to feel the things I needed to feel, to really grieve properly and release what no longer belonged to me. That's really what made the difference. And I had to learn to reparent myself in a lot of ways by teaching myself and guiding myself to let it be okay to feel those feelings and express them in a healthy way. And to take ownership for the way that I felt, to take ownership for the thoughts that I had, to take ownership for the way that I lived my life, the habits and the patterns that either took my power away and disempowered me, or the habits that would empower me to become stronger. And that also requires discipline. Tapping into healthy habits like healthy nutrition and daily exercise, meditation, breathwork, journaling, forging healthy connections and relationships with people. These are all things that require effort, require stepping out of your comfort zone, breaking out of the victim mentality, and daring to be vulnerable and trying something new and embracing the fact that it's going to suck. It's not going to be comfortable. But therein lies the key is to confront ourselves in those ways and to step out of our comfort zone and find ways to build that resilience necessary to get through the tough times in life. So, if you're going through a tough time in life, just know that you do have the skills and the strength inside of you. If life is going great right now, that's great. Enjoy it. But when we learn to accept the fact that life will never be perfect, that we'll always have struggle, we'll always experience challenges, we will lose the people that we love, our relationships will fall apart, we will receive some news about our health challenges, some diagnoses. I used to think life was about having everything be perfect, and I always looked outside and was like, oh, that person is happy because things are good for them, but they're not good for me. But I realized that was foolish. I realized that it was much more about me realizing that there's always going to be struggle, there's always going to be challenge, there's always going to be pain. But making space for both the pain and the sadness and the grief, and also being grateful for the good things in our life, our health, our family, our friends, the simple things in life on a daily basis, finding gratitude for those things and having them coexist, finding that yin and yang, that balance. That's where the key is. We'll always deal with challenges and struggle. And if you're dealing with challenges and struggle right now, if you're going through a storm right now, well, just know that you have the strength to get through it. It may seem rocky, the seas are rough, it's windy, it's cloudy, it's stormy, but you have the strength to get through it. And on the other side of that storm, you will be stronger and more resilient and more able to handle whatever life throws at you. Not only that, but you'll be able to be there for people when they're going through a tough time. So if you're going through a tough time, you can always come back here and revisit this video, check out some of the other content. That's why I make it. Sometimes to remind myself that I'm not alone, and to remind others that we're going through this together. We're alive on this planet together. And to remind each other that we're not alone with the struggles and the challenges. Although it can feel that way sometimes, we're not. So hang in there. You'll get through it. You will. You're stronger than you think. And you'll be even stronger on the other side of getting through the tough stuff. Hang in there. You got this.